save time having to do analysis.
Yeah.
Don't you have to do that sort of thing where
Yeah.
you get people talking about you
Yeah.
less of that. How do you like, you don't have to redo what it is you need. I think it's like, that's good, so that's kind of like the feature you're trying to sell.
Yeah.
And then from that you can move to advertising.
Good stuff. You're like, everything's pretty well thought out. So what do you answer to those questions? What if they did purchase it? What would happen?
Sure, I think so. I would ask more, but we got
receive your impact in the lives of
how does your
products.
Okay, so then what would, yes, after what would happen is you did more than that, like, there's no point in time.
no, it's so if we were to look at a takeaway stream or whatever you call it. UI is
And if
simply
they didn't
use,
pay your,
so we have to
if
spend
they didn't, if it
less time doing your
use
analysis.
your services, what would happen?
They didn't use some time.
They
would fail to do it.
And then what's that last one? Well, like, and didn't use your services, what would it happen? Is that it?
Anyway, I can see. I don't see.
Okay, I'll come back to the same answer.
So what would you say? Okay, so I say our UI is
If you
simply
did, then this. If you didn't, then this. But like, that's just not work at all. Didn't give us
But no, I need to work
so you make less mistakes in the process.
I don't see that's very strong, but it's easy to use, but we go back to what we were saying here. More, it's intuitive, so it's less training, so more productive. Yeah, I got 3 out of 2.
No, it wouldn't happen. And you would be at the risk of government regulations and so forth.
Kind of, but I think they have different angles, right? So one thing's training.
Then there's a huge chance of missing a lot of.
Okay, so I say time to training for about all the mistakes I can make if it isn't very clear, the process will have to go through, right?
Okay.
There's other options too.
Okay, so what?
So, okay, so I make less mistakes and
You
able
don't
to
have
get
to do the analysis.
I don't have to do them, so I don't have to review analysis, so I spend less time correcting my mistakes. It means so I can be free to other more important things. I can bring in more contracts or run my spend time.
But like you said, that's what about this, because we're dumping, we already said this, but we're going to what he was saying, like clever things, so it's easy, so we can do something that run the clock.
No, well, the whole exercise is to go through all the slides, not to just jump to, or you can say time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, first of all, every so what, like, that's why there is a so what else, like.
When you only
There
when
is
you
a-
find only
there's-
when you get the takeaway, then you say.
Yeah, but this is, you really got to take away when you get to, get it, I have to spend less time redoing my analysis.
Okay.
That's a really a takeaway, then you can say, okay, what else? And then
Right.
you, like, and that's what I understood. I mean, it's,
Yeah, so when you get to the so what else?
I mean, you can say, okay, if I make the best mistake, and less frustrated in
So at least-
analyzing and happier using the, I don't know, like, I don't know. I don't have to, I don't have to worry about making these mistakes, like I was worrying before.
Right.
Okay, now this is a different one. Okay, is that nicer? Is that hard? Is what you're doing really difficult?
The negative one is really hard.
It's a killer,
Yeah.
but just occasionally it'll differentiate yourself from the opposition. I am not suggesting that it always comes out, but the main thing is it's getting your mind into thinking about it. And it's got a mixture of towards and away from in there, that's in there, what would happen if not. And you're beginning to see how these psychological bits help. Now, I'm going to give you a very quick summary of the whole structure of this idea of turning something divine, purely for one reason, which is so you know where you are when we start tomorrow. Then Catherine and I are going to give you a bit of a laugh, and then we'll stop for lunch. And that's it until tomorrow. If you want to, between now and tomorrow, I'd like you to have a think about a couple of things that you want to address specifically. We've just been talking about a specific thing which, by luck, I was going to cover. So tomorrow morning, I would like you each to come up with one specific... Are we going to have more people tomorrow?
Are you guys all coming back?
Don't have to ask them with me in the room. I do hope you... Tomorrow's a lot more lively. There was a lot of theory. Yeah, well, when you come back tomorrow, it will be lively tomorrow. There's a lot of really cool linguistics. We're doing linguistics, we're doing behavioural psychology in a way that will help you to engage with customers. Tomorrow's about engaging with customers and investors and buyers and stuff like that. But I want you please to come with something specific to yourself. I've got a personal problem with X, nothing wrong with that. Or my business has a problem, my team has a problem, or he's not here but this person has a problem. And we'll see if we can fix those all by the end of the day. Okay, so... Before I go, anybody got any burning questions without which they're not going to live for the rest of the day? I hope not. Good. Okay. So, this is what we call the APEX framework. A is analyze. That's what we've been doing. We've been analysing the buying drivers. Everybody gets that. Prepare. We're not going to do hardly any of that at all, but we have mentioned, remember I said about reviewing the takeaways before you go in, sending them an email saying, really looking forward to talking to you. I'm not going to do a pitch. I want to find out about your business. Specifically, I want to know how the new regulations are going to affect you. You imagine how different that conversation is when you walk through the door. You've taken a minute and a half to think up and send that email the day before. Your buyer knows that you're not going to do a pitch because nobody likes a pitch. They know you're not going to take a long time and they know what you're going to ask about. You know, if nothing else in these 2 days, just think about that, sending an email. I don't want to take up too much of your time. I'm only going to talk about 3 things. I use videos, things like that. There's a whole bunch of stuff like that. But preparing means that for a specific meeting, you're ready to go in and you know about the navigation that you're going to do around these tasks. I don't care whether you're salespeople or not. Think about this table, navigating around all the boxes. And you can prime the customer and you can coach everybody in your team. Then the elicitation, that's what we call it. We're eliciting their takeaways. We're not pitching. We're not going to say, you've got to buy my stuff, it's better than everybody else's. We're going to not do that because there's 3,500 potential of them. There's only 3 or 4 takeaways. Tomorrow is about elicitation. I'm going to start with a little bit of cognitive behavioural psychology because I think you'll enjoy it. Several people have asked me about that. And then we'll go straight into using a fabulous technique, which is the bit that you should all come back for. Even if you leave after the first hour and a half, it's a really cool technique that you can use for getting a pay rise, seduction techniques, getting out of trouble, talking your way out of a ticket with a policeman. It's the coolest technique I have ever taught. And we use that to find, develop, and value what the takeaways are. And at the end of that time, hopefully, you can excite the customer by saying, well, that's great. That's exactly what we do, all right? By the end of tomorrow, you'll be able to say, that's great, that's exactly what we do. You may have your own version, but it's our little thing. That's great, that's exactly what we do. Once you get to that point, you've got a customer who's excited and you're excited. What do you think you should do then? I know you know, because I just told you. So what do you do then? You know they want to buy it, they're excited. Give them an order.
Percent the price, you say,
Well, hopefully now then you've done the price here, you've done the pricing here, you've generated a value here, you know what it's worth to them. And they're unlikely to ask you the price unless the value that you've elicited is so far from the truth that they're not going to worry about it. But you'll find that by doing it down here, by listing the value, they're going to talk about price. But the pricing comes into this. At that point, you do what we're not going to cover, but there's a really nice bit in the book about it, the buying plan. That's a phrase that I developed about 15 years ago with my sales team, and it's a buying plan. It's not a sales plan. If you go into any traditional sales organisation, you have a sales plan for each account. It's not a sales plan because the customer's not involved. The customer should be working with you on a buying plan. And one company I even worked for, we made the customer sign off the buying plan. And the buying plan would have the timeline between now and when the contracts are right, and then the timeline after that. All the external parties are involved. Are there some things to do with dates, holidays, Ramadan, end of tax year, things like that, which will affect what's going to happen. What technical processes are involved, that your company will not let anybody buy a piece of technology over $15,000 without it having been looked at by the head of IT. So all of those processes, in fact there are 6 Ps that we use for producing a buying plan. And that buying plan, you should, on that first meeting, that very first meeting, have put the idea into their head and begin to get some of the ideas of how you're going to get from here to an order. And that's really what Apex is about. It's not trying to do anything else, it's the operational stuff. Does that make sense? Tomorrow we're going to focus on the blue bit. Oh, that one goes off something. Excited buying plan. So I'm kind of saying the right things here. Okay. Everybody happy? Cool. Was that useful? Good. Tomorrow we'll show how to use it. Catherine and I are just going to give you a bit of a laugh. Where's the script?
Here.
This is a real story. Okay, so we're 2 young urban professionals. We've come into our house probably down at Cotton Place, and we've got two entrances, 2 garages. We just arrived home at the same time. You're a venture capitalist, I'm a product manager, and so we just arrived here. Hello, darling. How are you? Have you had a good day at work? It doesn't say
Yes, thank you. How are you?
Very, very well. How are you? It's very formal. You wouldn't believe you've been married for 15 years. Darling, I've just had a fantastic day.
Really?
Yeah. I've got this great idea.
Oh,
No.
no. Okay, great. Fantastic. What's the idea?
She's good. Well, darling, I think that we should trade in our Volvo, remember we're talking about Volvos, for a Ford Explorer. It has the amazing new EcoBoost engine.
So what?
She must have done my training. Well, that means it has 350 horsepower.
So what?
Did that sound stronger and a little more frustrating? That's what it says here. Well, it means it tows really, really well.
So what?
Well, that means it can easily pull our big new trailer even up steep hills.
Ooh, so what?
She's very good. It says hopefully. Did that sound hopeful? Very good. Okay, well, it means we can camp in the far north of Quebec, where we've never been able to get to before with our Volvo.
So what?
Well, you've always wanted to have the pleasure of watching a northern sunset over Mont d'Abbeville.
Sounds interesting.
Yes. It's the happiness, the state, the happiness of watching the sunset.
So what else? What would we take away from buying a Ford Explorer?
So there's a learning point here. So what else? She's added my words. And we'll talk tomorrow about adding words to make something more strong. So she's not just learnt so what, she's learnt so what else would we take away from buying a Ford Explorer? And think about listening, because you have to listen to do that. She's listening. Well, darling, it runs a direct injection forged aluminium high pressure turbocharged V6.
Yeah, so what?
Well, that means that the mixture in the combustion chamber of the engine is always stoichiometric.
Oh, so what?
I'm an automotive engineer. Well, that means that the engine runs really efficiently. Is efficiency a takeaway?
So what?
Well, that means we'll spend less money on fuel, my darling.
Sounds interesting. So what else could we take away from buying a Ford Explorer?
Well, it has a computer-controlled digital braking system.
Interesting. So what?
Well, the computer spots when the trailer's beginning to sway, and it stops it by braking gently on alternating sides, completely automatically.
Oh, so what?
Well, the risk of an expensive and unpleasant accident from the trailer, like we had last year, is minimised.
Oh,
In fact, I think the risk of you being scared and us it costing a fortune will be reduced enormously.
Fantastic. So what else could this amazing computerized vehicle do for us?
Ironic smile, it says. It should be an ironic smile. Well, we'd be able to average over 100 kilometres an hour, not the 80 we manage now, and with at least as good fuel consumption, and we'd get there earlier so we could both enjoy that sunset together.
So what are we waiting for? That sounds good to me. It seems to pass the tires check very well. Let's get down to that Ford dealer and take a test drive.
Big hand. That's it. Thank you very much. I'll see you tomorrow night. Now, bring anybody else who didn't come, and we're going to start at 9. We've got quite a lot to cover, and we'll get straight on. Cool. You've all got your books. If you want me to sign anything, I can do it now, or you can wait till the end.
And just to let you guys know, a little heads up, I realized that next week is the first mentored pitch session. I'll repeat this message tomorrow as well, but if ever you want to practice on Tuesday with me or have a dry run before actually going, presenting to the rest of the group and to the 2 people who will be on the panel and giving you advice on how to improve your pitch, feel free to let me know. Okay?
And if you read chapter 9, chapter 10. Chapter 10.